What do I know about this subject? I can drive a car. I said it. I can't do it no more.
Clap.
The Audi Quattro, Lancia 037 and the Peugeot 205 T16, some of the most iconic names in rallying. Cars that pushed the limits of what was possible in a way that we haven't seen since. It was called Group B and is still held as the golden era of rallying. Group B was a class where manufacturers were allowed...
Alright, so what's the deal? You car people, somebody, help me, please. Why do you insist on standing next to the car that is going to be drifting into your ball sack? Get out the way. Get out of the way, man. Get out of the way. I get it when you're, watching Tour de France. However, if they crash, it's a couple bites in your calves. It's fine. My shin bone may be explored painfully. Anyway, these come and get you, and you're dead. They just drift on into your body, and the guy is like, my bad.
To go all out with almost unlimited power, crazy aerodynamics and new exotic materials. It brought about new technologies like four-wheel drive, semi-automatic gearboxes and clever turbocharging systems. However, it was only for the bravest of drivers. The hugely powerful cars needed a lot of manhandling to thread them.
Giving me anxiety. Look at this dude just jumped in the back over
from huge drops and dodging a sea of spectators. But how did this come about, and what can we learn from the crazy cars that won in the Group B era? Rallying went wild in the 80s. The FIA wanted to attract more manufacturers.
I knew this was the 80s. I was just about to bring that up.
Would give the designers pretty much free rein. No power limits, no regulations on boost, and whatever exotic materials you liked. Rally cars over the years have been largely based on road cars, with rules tightening and loosening on how close the relationship has to be between the stock car and the ones that actually race the stage. For example, in the Group A class, the manufacturers have to produce...
Let me give you my ignorance of cars. I may have said this in the intro, and by may I mean I did, and I don't know anything. Not a damn. I know how to drive and get a license. Park. Parallel. I'm a parallel parking demon. But other than that, NASCAR? No. And I've lived in a state where NASCAR is king. No. Indy? No. So this is kind of exciting. Now, excuse my resting whatever face you want to insert into so I don't get super, but internally I'm intense. I don't know why I did all that, but I did. So
5,000 road-going versions of the car before it is allowed to compete. In Group B, to lower the costs and interest manufacturers, they ruled that only 200 cars needed to be produced. Group B also allowed almost endless modifications to be made, meaning the rally cars were nothing like the road cars at all. This approach really worked, attracting many manufacturers to Group B, names like Lancia, Porsche, Peugeot, Audi, Toyota, Ford, as well as so many more. Lancia took the Drivers' Championship in the first year of Group B with the 037.
Why are y'all in
what is drive car to win in the WRC? It was incredibly light, using fiberglass Kevlar for the body, and was powered by a mid-mounted 250 horsepower engine.
Standing in front of a car,
much larger wings than many cars of
getting drifted into,
with a huge rear spoiler to stabilize the car at high speeds. It was supercharged to avoid turbo lag, and it was incredibly quick on the tarmac stages. However, it wasn't quite as quick on loose surfaces. So in stepped Audi with the Quattro, one of the most innovative rally cars of all time, a true game changer. It had an inline-5 engine with a very clever turbocharging system that produced over 450 brake horsepower. It had a small valve that kept the turbo spooled even when off throttle, meaning there was very little turbo lag, making the car quick out of the tight turns. The Audi also had a very aggressive aero kit with a huge spoiler at the front of the car and an even bigger wing on the back. This was one of the first sophisticated uses of aerodynamics in rallying. Drivers said it made the car extremely stable at high speed. The insane power was
Nice.
put through a clever semi-automatic gearbox and drove all four wheels. It was the first car to use a four-wheel drive system effectively. Before this, many manufacturers...
Let's discuss the death rate of this sport. What is it? Because I feel like, actually, you know what? I feel like the stupid people on the side, sorry, stupid people, but if that's you, come on, you know better. Might have a higher death rate than the people inside the car because, I mean, they're drifting along most of the time. So if I hit something, it's not full speed. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. Good luck out there, guys, because you guys are insane. But this is hilariously awesome. Because I keep laughing at myself, at these people about to get mowed down, and then they're like, no, nope, 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 nope. We know what we're doing. We're part of the sport. The only thing more insane are the people that run at the bulls. I wouldn't say they're more insane. The people that are paid to run at the bulls in order for the bulls not to gore the rider, which that doesn't make any sense. You will never pay me enough money to run at $2 million. Where the bull at? Because I'd do it for $2 million. Might do it for a bologna sandwich.
stuck to rear-wheel drive as they thought the additional weight would outweigh any time gains from the extra traction. And yes, the Audi was very heavy, and the four-wheel drive system meant the weight was higher up than you would like in a rally car normally. But despite the compromised dynamics, it worked. The Audi had more power than the rest of the field, but could also use it more effectively, deploying more power even on surfaces like gravel, dirt and ice. Audi won its first race with the car and didn't really stop after that. They shaved seconds, if not minutes, off stage times. The Audi four-wheel drive system really changed the game in rallying. But the Audi dominance didn't last long. Peugeot came out with a car that would expose the weaknesses of the Quattro. They used a similar four-wheel drive system but packaged it very differently.
It looked like a Pinto.
Was that they really nailed the car's dynamics. They built the car to look like a road-going 205.
Right in a Pinto. Hatchback. There it is again.
It had a very short wheelbase, which generally makes cars more nimble at low speeds with the trade-off of less stability at high speeds. However, rally stages are often so tight and twisty.
You know what's funny is I got more upset about the cows than I did
the
people.
Also did
I should think about my priorities.
To keep the weight central. They fitted a 1.8 litre engine in the middle of the car, although it didn't have the clever anti-lag system that the Audi did. So the drivers used an old trick to keep the turbo spooled up. They left foot braked for the corners while staying on the throttle. This kept the turbo spooled up and gave them immediate power on the exit. But what was really unusual about the 205 was the orientation they mounted the engine in. Normally, race cars have longitudinal mounted engines with the crank parallel with the direction of the car. However, Peugeot fitted it in a transverse orientation, and instead of mounting the gearbox below the engine like in the Audi, Peugeot mounted it to the side. This meant that the majority of the weight in the car was between the two axles and could be mounted lower, making the car much more nimble and responsive in the corners. Low centre of gravity means the car doesn't roll too much.
What the money is like for engineering, car engineering, for race car engineering, because this is so much engineering, so much science involved. You have to, at some point, you've got to have people sit there and think, how can I make this lighter? How can I make this faster? How am I going to get the edge? It's just like rocket science. A lot like rocket science. I equate it to maybe how we're trying to get lighter and lighter to get the space shuttle into space faster. By the way, they have a new way of thinking about getting that into space. I'll put it at the end of this. It's insane.
And if it's in the centre of the chassis, the car is easier to rotate in the corners. The 205's weight distribution wasn't 50-50 though, it placed around 60% of the weight on the rear wheels. In simple terms, rearward weight distribution promotes oversteer and frontward weight distribution creates more understeer. This rearward bias meant the car was easier to turn in and control through the turns. You can really see this if you watch the Audi through the corners. The Audi was very front heavy and produced a lot of understeer. The drivers are trying to neutralise this with the throttle, but they have to correct the car several times through the corner. The Quattro understeers, then oversteers, then understeers again through a turn. The drivers really have to wrestle it through the corner. The Quattro was by no means an easy car to drive. Now look at the Peugeot, there is one smooth input on the steering and the car looks much more balanced and easy to drive. There is no wonder it was quicker. It's incredible
that came around that
these
corner.
drivers control the car when at crazy speeds on tight and twisty rally stages. Also not forgetting they are threading the car through a sea of spectators on the stage. But why are the fans allowed to be so close to the cars? The stages are public roads, meaning anyone could go and
Thank you.
spectate.
Why are the
However,
fans
it meant
allowed?
that many got extremely close to the cars. Back then, people
Okay.
did get hit, but it was considered to be part of the
means
challenge for
get
the
out of the way.
drivers. They often kept it pinned and had to hope that the fans would get out the way
I knew
in
it.
time. This guy even had to jump over a passing car. Many manufacturers understood that Peugeot's approach was the way to go, all producing smaller, short wheelbase cars.
That's the same guy I
with
laughed
all
at
the
earlier.
weight in the middle. MG created the Metro with a distinctive boxy shape and a huge front wing, and the Renault 5 took a similar approach too.
So
However, it was
basically,
Lancia
you're allowed to
that
be
did the
there
best. They finally
just
scrapped
'cause.
rear-wheel drive after being
'Cause.
uncompetitive all year. So
Yes.
they created the Lancia Delta S4, a short wheelbase four-wheel drive monster. Firstly, they developed an engine with a genius twin charging system. They fitted
Monster.
a supercharger to avoid the lag of a turbo, a bit like the Lancia 037. However, this created less power at high revs. As a supercharger is directly driven by the engine, it can provide boost at low revs, but saps more and more power as the revs climb. So what Lancia did was fit an additional turbocharger that would provide boost at high revs. So low-end boost was provided by the supercharger before cutting out and letting the turbo take over at higher revs. This meant the Delta S4 was amazingly powerful and had the grip to put it down onto the stage.
This is such
it took
brilliant
many wins before eventually bringing the Group B era to a close.
engineering.
Era of rallying was amazing to watch. Incredibly fast cars and amazing drivers all pushing to the limits of what's possible. There were different winners every year and cars that looked remarkably different with incredible
Listen to the
engineering.
lyric.
However, you can't ignore the fact that it was extremely dangerous. The cars were too powerful, difficult to drive, and not enough emphasis was put on the safety of drivers and spectators.
Yes.
The
You know,
biggest
he
issue
could have
was the
smashed like
minimum
14
weight
people
rule.
right there.
Cars could weigh as little as 890 kilograms. So to be competitive, manufacturers would do anything they could to get this limit down. This created a breed of cars that were very fragile and not up to the job of protecting drivers in a crash. Many of the drivers explained that if this weight limit was higher, more
interesting.
strengthening could have been added
take it
to
back
better
then.
protect
Maybe the
drivers
drivers
in a
got
crash.
hurt.
Several huge crashes happened. In Portugal,
What?
Santos
All right,
crested
brother,
a
get out of
rise
the car.
in his
It's a wrap.
Ford RS200.
Come here,
He
Hugo.
lost control and
Sit
went
your
off
ass
the
down.
course, horrifically injuring 31 spectators and killing 3. All the teams immediately pulled out of the rally and it left Group B hanging on by a thread. A few months later, the final blow came. Lancia's Henry Toivonen was the championship favourite.
Okay, so this was an inevitability. I believe somebody's going to lose control and run into 31 people and kill 8 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 to 10, and or. Nobody thought that was going to happen? Nah, you just got to wait until something happens and then we'll increase it to the point that we have to just eliminate it altogether when you could have been like, you know what, yeah, this is stupid. 5-year-old me is sitting there like,
Big Boss Baby.
When he lost control
on,
late in a fast
man.
turn, he was winning by a huge margin when he and his co-driver Sergio Cresto came flying off the road, heading down a steep hill. The impact ruptured the fuel tank, spilling fuel over the red-hot turbocharger, sending the car.
I was just wondering that too.
After the incident, it was barely recognisable as a car, and both Henry and Sergio were killed in the crash. This led to many manufacturers pulling out, and the FIA ended the
course
Group
they
B
were.
class the following year.
Yeah, wrap this
You
up.
should watch this video where I
Look at the bones of the car. That was amazing. I don't know anything about cars, as I said before, really. But I do know that I don't have that gene in me to want that adrenaline. I'm good. 2, 3, 4. Never do I need the adrenaline rush. Some people, I really admire those people who take that adrenaline, that fear of death, and harness it into joy. I am joyful when I'm not about to die. So, we don't see the same thing eye to eye, if you know what I mean. If you'd like me to do more of these rally car reactions, tell me. Let me know. Because if you don't let me know, I won't know. And I'll just do my own thing. Go ADHD.
Shakespeare, bitches!